The American outskirts was a fierce domain. Viciousness was regularly a first resort. On different occasions, it was the common world that represented the greatest danger to human endurance. Nature on the boondocks was huge and indefensible. Here are 5 of the scariest stories from the American outskirts. 1. The shooting of David Lunt. One night in January 1877, David Lunt was in a cantina in the outskirts town of Deadwood, South Dakota, when an infuriated, intoxicated man entered. As the marshal of the town endeavored to quiet him, the alcoholic coincidentally discharged his pistol into Lunt's head. For the vast majority, a shot to the head would be the end. In any case, not for David Lunt. He serenely got up, left the bar, and returned home as spectators stared at the shot gap in his head. Lunt proceeded with day-by-day life and appeared to have no agony. In any case, following 2 months, he started to whine of intensifying cerebral pains. A brief timeframe later, Lunt passed on. The examination uncovered that the shot had made a terminal ulcer structure in his brain. 2. The tragedy of the Donner Party. The account of the Donner Party is an alarming story of anguish, starvation, and human flesh consumption. In 1846, a gathering of 89 individuals, drove by Jacob and George Donner, left Springfield, Illinois, to begin another life in California. During the underlying piece of the excursion, individuals from the Paiute clan took or executed a considerable lot of the gathering's dairy cattle. In any case, this was just the beginning of their troubles. Attempts to discover alternate routes cost the gathering important time. By October, they despite everything had not made it over the Sierra Nevada mountain range to the overall well-being of California. After substantial snowfall obstructed the go over the mountains, the Donner Party had to set up camp at Truckee Lake and hold up out the harsh winter. As the winter delayed and the provisions of nourishment dwindled, starvation and lack of healthy sustenance set in. The individuals who wished to endure had to fall back on savagery by eating their dead companions. A gathering of less than 20 men, ladies, and kids, known as the Forsaken Hope, molded alternative snowshoes and set out from the camp to discover help. Just a couple made it to the opposite side of the mountains. The rest of the individuals from the gathering kicked the bucket of hypothermia, depletion, or starvation. The assortments of the individuals who had fallen were utilized to take care of the survivors. It was not until April 1847 that the last survivor at Truckee Lake was safeguarded. At this point, less than 50 of the first gathering was as yet alive. 3. The Wilbarger scalping. In 1827, Josiah P. Wilbarger fabricated a homestead on the Colorado River. At some point, he and his gathering were out exploring when a few individuals from the Comanche clan assaulted Wilbarger's gathering. 2 of Wilbarger's men were murdered promptly while another 2 escaped. Wilbarger himself was hit by 2 bolts, 1 in every leg, and was likewise struck by a slug on his neck. Realizing that playing dead was his lone possibility of endurance, Wilbarger lay still as the foe drew nearer. At that point, all of a sudden, one of the tribesmen snatched Wilbarger's head and scalped him. How he didn't shout in torment is a wonder. After the tribesmen left, Wilbarger lay in misery while dreams of his sister, Margaret, guaranteed him that help would come. To be sure, the individuals who had gotten away from the assault returned to the ranch, and a gathering set out to help Wilbarger. At last, he endured the ordeal. For 11 years, he approached his everyday business with a unique top on his head to cover the territory where his scalp had once been. Tragically, he inadvertently thumped his head against a shaft one day. This brought about a disease which guaranteed his life. 4. John Heath and the Bisbee Massacre. In 1883, 5 equipped men entered the town of Bisbee, Arizona, to burglarize the neighborhood bank. The looters accepted that the bank was holding the finance for many excavators working for the Copper Queen Mining Company. However, the criminals had coordinated the theft ineffectively. The finance had not been kept into the bank yet. Taking what they could, the crooks left the bank and were promptly entangled in a gunfight in the city of Bisbee. At the point when the fight was more than 3 townsmen and a pregnant lady were dead. The posse immediately mounted their ponies and braved of town. John Heath sorted out a group from the town to find and capture the scoundrels. The gang bombed in their mission. However, because of crafted by criminologists, every one of the 5 desperados were in the long run found and captured. Upon their catch, they embroiled a 6th man, none other than John Heath. Filling in as an inside man, he had purportedly been the brains behind the whole bank heist. All 5 burglars were condemned to death. The denounced men kicked the bucket in what is as yet Arizona's biggest mass hanging. John Heath, who was attempted independently, was just condemned to life in jail since every one of the 5 criminals decided to deny his contribution during the trial. However, the townsfolk were not happy with this result and chosen to assume control over the issue. A furious horde raged the prison, took Heath outside and lynched him from a utility pole. 5. Margaret Handley Erskine. In 1779, a young lady named Margaret Polly, who was later known as Margaret Handley Erskine, was going with her better half and her infant from Virginia to Kentucky. They needed to set up another life on the frontier. During the excursion, they were assaulted by individuals from the Shawnee clan. Margaret's better half was shot and slaughtered. The clan individuals additionally beat Margaret before severely slaughtering her child before her. Margaret was then abducted by the Shawnees. Throughout the following 5 years, she lived with them, bringing forth another youngster while hostage and enduring an attempt to kill her by one of the tribesmen. She at long last got away from the wild when frontiersmen discovered her and bought her opportunity. They returned her to Virginia. There, she in the long run remarried and carried on a long life. Thanks for watching.